Well, I had opened this morning with doing my usual walk with Dottie, and I went to transfer that footage, and it's gone. The 28th of July, and we're definitely running out of July very quickly here. And today's a Tuesday. It's my work day at the museum. I couldn't think of anything to talk about. I couldn't think of a video to do today. It's very rare. Um, and and I'm not going to explain it any further. I'm just going to show you what I ended up with. I have no idea what's going to come. I just turned the camera on. Um, Obviously, I'm at work, I'm in the museum, and it's been very busy. A lot of um, people that view the channel that know I'm here on Tuesdays came by and had some nice conversations. But I'm feeling kind of down, and I've been sitting here thinking about, okay, let's think about what's going on. What do you have to feel down about? So it's when I turned on the computer or turned on the camera and thought maybe there's something worth talking about here. Um, the most recent thing that is disturbing is that I have two sisters, and some you've been with me for a while know that one sister, Margaret, was attacked by a pit bull rather severely, and it was very traumatic, and potentially it was a life threat, but she was saved, and she's been processing her recovery from that and been doing very well. And my other sister, Annie, lives in the same town, who was a couple of years older than Margaret, was taking care of her. Visited her in the hospital, got her home, just was taking care of her sister. Then I get the text a few days ago. She's in the hospital now with, first, they found a small bleed in the brain. Then they found a couple of near the surface tumors that were non-malignant tumors, and a lot of unexplained physical and cognitive things, along with the seizure that's going to be preventing her in itself from driving for a year. And she just got out of the hospital yesterday. So why am I telling you all this? Not that I'm looking for sympathy of things happening in my family. It's like there's a bigger thing happening now in my life with mortality. So let's just look at some numbers for a minute. I'm 66, and I'm going to go in ascending order in age of me and my ascending age started with me. I'm the youngest. 66, 76, 78, 80, 81 or 82. I think 82 at this point. Um, then look at people I'm close to and people that I've been friends with for a long time are in that age, some older, a few younger, but mostly my age and older. So it's understandable that these things are going to are happening, and they're going to continue to happen, in the frequency and the severity and frequency over time is not going to be decreasing. It's going to be increasing to ultimately people die. You, me, my brothers, my sisters, my friends, my dog. This isn't a news flash to anybody, but I think that explains kind of my melancholy today. Is both my sisters are okay, my brothers are all okay. There's nothing that says that no one's got terminal cancer or anything. I have friends that are having problems, but none of them are, is that I'm aware of, been diagnosed with anything terminal. Yet there's this, what comes to mind is that image of the black cloaked figure with the sickle that is lurking in the background, ever reminding those who pay attention that this is a mortal coil. We none of us get out of this deal alive. Um, so I think about the people that I love and care about, um, their ultimate demise, and it is right up there equally as Dottie's down here sleeping. She's 11 years old. And one of the people that came to visit asked how old she was, and I said 11. So she said, well, hopefully you've got another 4 or 5 years. And I said, yeah, that would be great. But then I'm thinking 4 or 5 years is nothing. I'm going to be without my Dottie dog in 4 or 5 years. Well, of course I am. If not sooner. There's no way to tell. She's my third dog. It'll be my third devastating loss when that happens. I think it comes back down to a theme that's been emerging both in my life and my thoughts about my own continuing emotional and in intellectual evolution, and those of my clients. If you're new with me, I'm a retired counselor, but I still do licensed counseling once a week. And there's this phenomenon that keeps showing up, and that is the seeming requirement that people have to survive awful things, deaths of loved ones, physical problems, physical limitations, intellectual, mental limitations, things that in the category of things that happen to people that we love that can be devastating, and things that happen to us as we're moving along that can be devastating. And it brings trauma. So, what's trauma? Trauma is experiencing really bad stuff. Right? And sometimes when we experience bad things, we have we feel depressed, sad, maybe angry. We experience, or I experience, emotions that are unpleasant for me. What's pleasant for me is feelings. Hear me talk about it. Feelings of peace, peacefulness, freedom, kindness, generosity, gratefulness, gratitude. All these things are nourishing feelings for me. But that's only one side of me. And the other side is appearing right now, where I'm having, I think if I'm honest, I'm feeling a little bit of displaced, undirected anger. Right now I call it irritability. Sadness, feeling a little depressed, and but back to the theme of that's been coming up is that I realized both I and many other people have an expectation that when bad things happen to good people, right? Or bad things happen to anyone, but you know my reference, that there is a way out, there's a climb, and there's a distant light at the end of the tunnel where you break through and you're over it. There's suffering that happens, and there's a beginning, a middle, and an end to the suffering. And I got to tell you, I believed that for a long time, because often it's true, right? Time heals all wounds, right? Doesn't that sound right? In much of my experience has been time has healed wounds. But what I've discovered is time itself does not heal all wounds. Because I think sometimes the worst thing you could say to someone who's suffering is, well, given enough time, you'll get over it. Tell that to a person that's lost a young child. Tell it to a person that's lost a spouse that they've been devoted to and with for 45, 50, 60 years. And the sentiment will not be appreciated. And I've become acutely aware of that, in particular with dealing with clients and friends that experience devastating things, that there's the category of things themselves don't go away. Some people experience accidents or illnesses that result in permanent damage, in permanent disability, affect the way you interact with the world in a very inconvenient way. You can go blind, you can lose your hearing, you can lose your limbs, you can lose your mobility. You can lose your ability to experience something that I'm experiencing right now. I'm sitting in a chair talking to you, and physically I'm pain-free. And I take that for granted every day. But then I'm reminded of people that I know and people that I treat that deal with chronic pain, that they would give anything to be able to say what I just said. But they are experiencing conditions, there's little hope of it changing. You can try to manage it, but it's not going to go away. Like you lose a child, that doesn't reverse itself, and that doesn't go away. So what can I do? What can people do? And this is the thing that I've discovered through working with people recently, is as opposed to escaping the physical or emotional pain, find a way to live alongside of it. And I first really started getting this idea from a client that is blind. This client's always been blind. And I've been doing counseling sessions with this client for, I think, almost 4 years now. And unless there's someone with like a very deep, complicated diagnosis like schizophrenia, some severe bipolar cases, I don't deal with those in private practice. I deal with anxiety, basically anxiety and depression, adjustment disorder. When you're seeing someone that long, it evolves from, it may begin with acute mental health treatment, and it evolves into being a sounding board, being an objective source of perspective, and you're coaching a person through objectivity and historical knowledge of who they are and where they've been. And that's been the case. Now the blind, I need to get to the point. In none of those sessions has the topic ever been how they're going to deal with being blind. Not once. All right. If blindness comes up, it's in the context of this is how I'm dealing with someone else's view of my condition, not like I'm really frustrated that I'm blind and I'm upset about it. it taught me and here's the thing that really got to me. We'd be on a video call, like this person has an image of me in front of them, and I have a like image of them. And it's easy to forget they don't see me, they hear me. But I see and I hear them. And I routinely, I mean routinely, even to this day, momentarily forget that they're blind. And that's pretty remarkable that that happens. And it happens because over time, this person has accepted what's happened with them, a thing that we would be devastated by, and is adapted and is living alongside of it and not continually mourning it or being frustrated with it. They have found the rest of life to be a ready source of frustration and in places to grow and change. And it's it's a pretty remarkable thing to witness. And I keep coming back to it and thinking about other clients and how it's shifted my intent as a friend to friends and a counselor to clients, that my job isn't to make it go away. My job is to help them find a way to live alongside of it comfortably as possible. You may never get over the loss of that child, but you may be able to live the rest of your lifetime in a different way, but not necessarily in a miserable, painful way. So that's what came, that this is what's evolved from me not knowing what to say, not knowing what the video is going to be about today, and just turning on the camera, and this is what you got. And we'll see if this resonates with anyone. Um, so anyway, thank you. And I'll see you again. I'll see you again tomorrow.